Yeah, do you have that on the green button and streaming?
Yeah, it says it's streaming. Let's see if I can see it when I'm signed into your account.
I'll just go into YouTube my own little self.
Yeah, let's see what we got. Our channel.
No,
Live streaming. Yeah, pulling our one from yesterday. It says it's live. Oh, here we go. Yeah, it's up. I don't know how other people can see that though.
it says, which one do you think it is? It says live now, live now.
Yeah, see, it doesn't, when I signed in under your account, I can see the live stream going just fine. But when I searched for Remax Masters under, without being signed in, it didn't give me a link. It's almost as if it's not reading the,
Here it is. We're on.
You are?
It's right there. Good morning, everybody. So we're testing out our live feed camera for YouTube accounts. I told you about this the last couple weeks, and we have a company called One Beyond that we bought our system from, and Aaron has. So it's on a 20-second display. So I'm going to turn that down so you guys don't have to hear that. But we're on a 20-second delay. And so what you're going to find is that we'll have different areas where it can track me. It can track any presenter. It'll show you on the screen. It'll show the if you can go to like position. Can you go to position where it actually shows the computer? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to mirror to show us on iPad. Time today on iPad and half our time on the web version. Next couple days, we're changing the way we search on all of the search tools, meaning that it's going to be a dynamic search. So it's going to search neighborhoods, it's going to search schools, it's going to real time. So that's pretty fuzzy, it looks like to me. But just kind of give you an idea, we're walking through our program. So the one thing you don't want to do is probably watch that screen and try and talk to me because it's on that 20-second.
Yeah, you're actually streaming. If you want to take the Safari or whatever you have open and drop that, I think you're streaming YouTube, so you're watching the stream on there. We probably want to see your desktop, I would think, see how it looks like it's delayed.
Yeah.
Are you still streaming from YouTube? So are you watching our stream on YouTube right now?
Right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take us off YouTube. I just wanted to show them,
there we go.
this. And so what we're going to be going over is our program today. Okay, so this is what you're looking at right now is actually my iPad. So does everybody have an iPad? You don't have to follow along, but this is kind of what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and give you the complete version of how to use an iPad and what the functions are so you can start to get familiar with this. All right, so the nice thing about our version is that it takes you from where you are and shows you everything that's available. Every time that you move the screen, it's going to change the search dynamics. You can change the search dynamics yourself, or it will default, and it always defaults to the newest, the latest and greatest, and then as you move in, it'll bring more details in there, because there's only 60 icons that are only going to be on the iPad at any one time. That's why you have this bar on the left, and that will show you everything. And so, again, there's two functions there. And show you, kind of highlight the top part of this. So we're going to go over this section first, okay? And what are. First one is just basically turning on and off that bar. If you don't want to see any of that information and you want a full screen, the first icon there is just turning that on and off. The second one is what we call augmented reality. And what that does is it will then pick up properties from your iPad, and it'll give you an ability to go to certain sizes. So that's why you probably want to turn that off, so you can have this completely, and so it'll go, it's trying to calibrate is why you're seeing that little difference. But basically you can look from a quarter mile up to 10 miles, and then you can make it larger and smaller. Okay, so play with augmented reality. I'm not going to go over a lot of the augmented reality there, but I just wanted you guys to be aware of what that means. The next bullseye is the same on the iPhone as well as the iPad, and you go to the tracking mode. So when you're searching different areas and you don't want to come back to where you are, you want to turn the tracking mode off. When you put it in the user position, it'll take you back to wherever you are. So let me just turn it off for a second and then go to a different area. And it's probably going to be a little bit slow because everybody's got an iPad on here, is competing for some bandwidth today. But as you move in, you start to get different properties. You see how now it was all available, and then I moved in and it got a lot of red slashes because those are older properties. The newest one's always going to be on top. As you move in, it's going to then search different areas, and it'll recalibrate and show you different properties. So that when I go back to the user position, see, it takes me right back to where we were, even though I was looking at that. And that's why if you want to stay in an area and search properties, you want to have the tracking mode off. The other one, northernly challenged with your compass, you can turn the compass on and it'll keep you pointed to the north position. So that's what that means. Then the map mode or map type is in the standard mode right now, but then you can hit the satellite and it'll take you and show you where you are specifically. It shows where those properties are. One of the things that we added this weekend was Colorado Springs. So if you do have buyers in Colorado Springs, we're the only one that's going to have Colorado Springs in our database because it's not in RE Colorado anymore. Okay, so if you need to search, and if somebody lists up here from Colorado Springs, Home and Do is the only place you're going to be able to verify that that listing from Colorado Springs is in your app. Okay? So again, the hybrid is basically all that does is it puts the streets on there. So the hybrid just gives you the map plus the street names already on there. Going back to the standard mode, and then you just hit your screen once, it'll take that away. And then we go to the next one. The next one is your hourglass, which you can search by MLS number, street, city, and keywords. All right, we're going to be changing a lot of the dynamic search here, so it's going to get much more effective but those are the way, what you wanted to do. If you wanted to hit a certain street, it'll give you everything. And what that means is that when you hit a street, it's going to give you everything under contract, available, and sold. All right? In the mode that we have this computer on, we do not have solds on here unless we actually wanted solds, okay? So it defaults to only available and under contract. If you guys want to see the solds, you have to go into the setting and change that, and I'll show you how to do that. But right now, I like to just keep the most current information on there and not bog myself down with a lot of sold data in there. All right? So those are your keywords. I'm going to go back to the user position, just keep it the same so you don't get dizzy on trying to stay north here with me moving around. So the next button is the search button. This is where you can change searches. This is one database. So if you have a search that is saved, you can save this search here and it'll show up on all the other devices. So what I'm going to do is just show you, first of all, the property types. Everybody asks me, why are there different colors? This is the reason why we have different colors. We have different colors because land, Colorado Springs has farms, a section for farms. Other MLSs have farms. We have 7 MLSs in our database. So you got to understand that we're pulling from other parts of the state, and those have that. So rentals and builders will also be a color once we're finished with that. So the check marks mean that if you want to search those, it's going to default to everything. Partners would be your actual partners, where they're located, that kind of business. So eventually, when we get a lot of partners in there, you can search by the partners by your map search, just like you could search properties. So we want to take off land, income, and let's just see residential. So when we click on that, now the little button at the top says residential only. And now the available and under contract is the default, meaning that only the consumers can get available and under contract here. So we're not signed in. We're looking at the consumer version right this second. So let's say that they only want to hit active, and then we want to put a price. You always have to put a low value. Even if you say we're at $1 million, you still got to put a low value, or the system won't find the lower properties. So let's say that we're looking from 175 to 300,000. Okay, so now that's saved. The rest of the things, bedrooms, bath, car storage. If you want to put cars, that's great. Year built, you can do that. You can put structures in here if you're only looking for ranch-style homes. So let's just put in ranch-style home there, and you can do other things, but let's just leave it very simple. Now what this does is it's only going to show you properties that are going to have that criteria. You know that the criteria is turned on because you see the red highlight now saying my search criteria. So now you're starting to see any property that meets that criteria, and you're not looking at anything but normal MLS data. What I mean by that is it's not by any boundary. So you can go anywhere in the state, and that search criteria is going to stay on. Because what do buyers want to do? They want to find a property in their price range, and they may want to look wherever they want to look. And this gives that its ability to go all the way down to Colorado Springs, and you'll see that more properties start to, that's Loveland. I don't know how I got so far north. We're in Hank's territory now. I'm definitely a little bit slow because of everybody on there, so it's searching the criteria again. Now we're back to where I'm at. I was going to try and get to Colorado Springs. Mexico. Okay, that was a little too far. You can find a lot of properties in Mexico for $150,000. Let's see how Colorado Springs is searching there, because there should be, a lot in Colorado Springs. but you get the idea of how that search button is bar. So now you go back, you hit the little hourglass again, or the magnifying glass, you hit stop, and now it's going to go back and it's going to search, it'll default to everything. I'm going to show you a few things on the consumer site. So the consumer site here will have, the blue bar is a little bit different. You won't have RPR, and area is different. So RPR is not in there, if you guys know about that, and area is going to be a different kind of search, okay? And these functions down here won't really work because they haven't chosen an agent yet. But the one thing that you want to understand is when you hit contact, it's always going to have 3 of our agents that are working that area. Okay, this is how you, when you fill out your profile, the zip codes will work, and that's where you show up there. Okay, and so directions is the old directions the way we have, but I like to look at this sometimes to see exactly, you know, how far it is for that property. But our other maps function is much more dynamic, I would call. So this is just finding the property, showing you where you are and where, how far the property is. And usually this is instantaneously. One thing I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off. See, this is a live feed of my home, and the guys are building a pond, and so I think this is taking some bandwidth away. Just loading. But I can watch the guys work even when I'm at the office here. Let me just go back. Kind of see, these are all cameras that we have, and probably slowing my iPad down. So I'm going to just turn that off. And you guys know by double clicking, all the things that are working behind you can turn off, so that it will optimize your machine. So going back here, now you can see where it is. It says distance 2.8 miles. So that's the direct consumers can get. They go to the detailed information, and they get the IDX version of the database. That doesn't mean they get the broker information. When you're logged in, you'll get the broker information, but when they're logged in, they're only going to get detailed information. And we have added a bottom which shows the property on a Google view. Go to the description. This is more public remarks and other information that my VPN still says it's on. Let me just turn that sucker on. Disconnecting. The nice thing about our program is that you can go to other programs and then come back, and it takes you to the same page. So you don't have to worry if you have to say, okay, I got to answer a call, or I've got to do something else, I got to answer an email. You can come back and it works, takes you to the same page. So here is the description of the property. So it'll have any of the descriptions. It'll tell you the courtesy of the MLS, and that the information is coming from Ari, Colorado, that it's copyrighted, that kind of information, okay? So your blue bars across the top, when I hit area, this comes from Ari, Colorado area. This is not what we would get on value check, and I'm going to show you that. Anyway, their area information is not nearly as rich as when they sign up to work with a broker. So again, you've got your sign up now, and so this will log in. So it doesn't materially change, but now you have your dashboard that has everything that's on the web also on this page. So you can do searches here. You can look at your transactions and goes to all the transactions that you have. So if you wanted to see a document fairly easily, you can go to any of these documents and get that information. Click on that little bar. Let me show you what I did. See how this little that little bar there, that takes you back to the front of the page. It's kind of important. So when you hit a button and you do that, it'll always take you back. So there's a lot of stuff on this that we're going to kind of save for another day. But now you know with this little tab here, you're logged in. You can look at your profile and change your profile. It'll also give you some statistics, and I'm going to show you that. But it kind of says, okay, here's my agent profile, my password. I can have my agent code, all about me, my video, then the MLSs that I belong to, the zip codes that I want, and this is where you can sign in and do things with Land Title and other companies that we built here to stay logged in. So going back to the property now, I'm now an agent. So you see how the area has RPR. So you can see area and RPR has been added now because I'm logged in, and all of these functions at the bottom start to work. Okay, if it's not, you're not going to be able to work those options. So you get on the details page, you get a lot more information, meaning that all the MLS information there is going to be at the bottom. So you can start to see you still have your Google information, and now to show up. This home's been on the market, exclusive. Is listing this house. So if I wanted to call the showing number and I want to call that through my phone, I can do that in this function. I could send Troy a email and tell him that we're going to write an offer or whatever the question that we might have sitting at the house, because it automatically populates his email, and then it also gives the address of the information as in the subject line, so you're miles ahead. And now you can say, Troy, we're going to write an offer. Could you please send us disclosures? So if I hit send, he's going to get excited, right? But it's only one day on the market. He expects me to do that anyway, so he probably wants me to show the house before I get those in. And so I'll cancel that, and I'm going to go back to our page, okay? So going to directions, it's the same directions as the one I showed when the consumer version is on, and now I can go to the bottom and I can get turn-by-turn directions. So at least this tells me it's 11.64 miles with the address, the sub-area, and directions to the property if I'm more visual there. If I want turn-by-turn directions, I just turn the little arrow on. It's the same as the iPhone version. It will then figure out where you are and where you're going, and then it's going to be able to give you turn-by-turn directions visually, and hit the start button, and it will take you to where you need to go. So when I double-click on that, I turn that off and I come back to my position. So you guys know when you're turning that on, if you double-click to get rid of that, because you want to come back to that property. The next one is the mortgage calculator, and you see that you have 274 there and then 274. This mortgage calculator is on your agent's website properties. It's on this, and it's also on the iPhone. So you can change this from 25-year or a 10-year or a 7-year ARM or 3 years, any of those, by just hitting what you want and hit and save, and then you can go for your down payment, and you say, yeah, I want to have 15%, 41,000 is okay, and you hit the save button there. You can do your property taxes. The property taxes are like an API. It is not an exact, it's just a percentage of the property based on what most current Colorado properties are. So if you want to change that, you can change that by clicking that. And then going to monthly expenses, you can change your monthly expenses by going to say the mortgage insurance is going to be $140. Hazard insurance is going to be $100, and HOA is going to be $55, and we could have other expenses. Let's say that it's in a floodplain and it's $34. So now we hit save button. It adds all those monthly expenses up. Now let's say that today we can get 3.25 or 25 interest rate. And so now I've got all my information in there, and now I want to get a mortgage payment. By clicking on the Home and Do button, that's the blue button in the middle, will then give you your calculations. So it shows you that it's the mortgage loan payment is $1,017, but it has a disclaimer that it's only an illustration. We don't lock ourselves into it, and I have to do a mortgage for somebody that you gave a 2% rate, and we can't do that. So you want to email that to someone. You just hit the email button. So I've hit the email button. It takes the mortgage calculation there, everything in a breakdown, and then you can say to who. So I'm going to send it to myself so I can show you, what that looks like when the consumer gets it. So I hit in my database who I want to send it to, and I hit send. Now it also, not just the mortgage calculator, it tells you that it's been hit successfully. It sends this property information too. So the consumer knows which property that you're talking about. So that's that button. The next button is if I want to just email this out. All right, we went over the iPhone last week, and the iPhone has the ability to send a text with the property. This is just to send an email, okay? When you're using in this function, you can just send an email. So it gives you the picture of the property and all the information. They have to click on the contact, and all of that information will show up once I send it to them. It tells it comes from me, and again, I can just fill this out, hit send, and the computer should start going off that I'm getting some emails. Now the next button is the star button. This is hitting favorites. So by hitting that button, you see how the yellow highlight, it's now a favorite in your current list that is turned on at the time. Because if you have working with several different clients, I'm going to show you how you can hit a star button so that this one's for this person and another one is for another one, okay? Then the next one is a video tag. This is very effective when you've got somebody that's got a property that they're looking for a specific size for their TV. Like I've got a client that's got a 70-inch TV, and they want to look at the wall that it's going to be on there. So now what I do is I record this, and it records on our database, okay? It's not going out anywhere, but then you just record right here. He hits the stop button, and now it's downloading the recording of that right there. So as soon as that downloading of that recording is done, see it shows you what the recording's like, and you want to hit the share button. Uploading's in progress. It tells you it's not done yet. But now what I want to do is I want to email that out. Uploading is in progress. Okay, we understand how that needs to get done. So it's the same thing. I hit this little button here, the share button, and I hit that little button, and then it emails, and what it'll do is it'll send the video with the property again, just like the other tag. And now that you see I've got one on there, it's going to say that that's highlighted. So anytime you go to the property, you're going to be able to see that I've saved a video on that property. Then you can do a voice tag. It's the same thing. You can record this, testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now it saves that, and now you have an ability to say, hey, this property has got a flood on there, and now you could send the other agent a message about that you got a flood, and it's done, okay? And now it's saved on there. The last one with the A is your text tag, and this is what we use for our lock boxes. So you just hit the plus button, and you put and now it's saved. The box is 789 on there, or whatever day code, or the time that you're showing it, that there's little kitties in the litter box, so help them along, you know, those kinds of things. And again, you can then do the same function. You can share this, send this to, your assistant can send it right to you, and you get that information. So now on this property, I have 3 different saved tags right there. And I can go to favorite list and tag listings or whatever, and it's going to show that tag on there. I'm not going to go through that, but all of these will be on the property or also on your list on your computer. So that's the functions of the bottom. Anybody have questions on what I just went through on the bottom list and how that's used? Okay, so I'm going to hit the area button. And the area button will then now have value check. So we have added on this Google Earth pictures from looking straight down, so you can kind of see where this property is. It maps that, geomaps that, and you can take a look at that and kind of see what other things that are around it, or just zoom in and kind of show you how close you are to different streets. Then what it does is gives you the owner and property information. It tells you the owner of the property, the mailing address. What that means is that if it has a different address, you know that it's not a state owner. It's not the person that's living there. So you can start to gain some knowledge of how to handle a particular situation by looking at this while your folks are looking at their home. And so it's in Arapahoe County, tells me who owns the property, the census tract, the parcel number, the legal description, a formal legal description, because a lot of times they will make it on a short version. Well, now you can copy and paste and make sure that that's the right legal description that you have, and you don't look like a dummy that says certain abbreviated information. So then it gives you the property characteristics. This is where you can check the square footage against what the square footage the county thinks and what the seller is giving. It gives you the assessed value, and then it gives you all the transaction history that's on the property. Then you can go to recent sales, and it'll give you a high, low, and average for the neighborhood. If you want to hit neighborhood sales there, I just click neighborhood, gives you all the sales that have been recorded. It's about 2 weeks behind, but it's still very accurate. So now you're getting any FSBO information or anything like that. And then you hit the property analysis, and what it does is it tells you against the other properties, sales history in the filing that the property is in, the subdivision that it is, the city that it's in, and so you can really kind of at a glance kind of know that information, and you're really starting to look like an expert here. Then it has the school data, and it will give you all the school data, all the ones that are in that neighborhood. And we've improved this on the web, so you can kind of get some better information on the web. And then I'm going to turn it this way and get demographics. So remember when I showed you census tract up there in the courthouse records? Well, they take from the census tract, you can see the population, the income, the housing, the education, employment, and then if you wanted to email that report, you just click on the email report and you can email that out.
What area is that? What is the physical area? Is it a zip code or is it a...
So let me show you, Hank, where they get that information. So I really got to go all the way to the top here. Okay. So you see where it says census there? Okay. And that's government census tracts. So they do the statistic every 10 years, and so that's where they pick up that information. Going to RPR, there's a glitch right now, so RPR is not gonna work, but I'm gonna show you how it works on our other devices there. I've shown you the contact information. The one thing that I didn't show you up on the top taskbar, which is not that relevant anymore, but a question. If you have questions on how to use this, it will then kind of give you how to change your password, stuff that we've done over this is getting quite, this is 4 years old. So the technology on the web is a little bit better than that, and the database is actually, but you can kind of see how you can look what augmented reality is and those kinds of things. So that's what that little question bar is. Any questions on the applications? Because the last thing that I want to show you is how to use your data that you're pulling up on your iPad or your iPhone and making sure that you can have your shared list. So I'm going to go and hit the More button. That was the little More button right here, okay? And last views will be in the gray, and it's the houses that I last viewed. So let's say you're driving down the road and you looked at a property and you kind of forgot about it, but you know what, I want to look at that property again. You go back to this bar here and you can find the properties that you last viewed as long as you've been on the computer. As soon as you turn the computer off, it's going to reset. So just if you want to hit that, you want to hit one of those as a save buttons before you turn off your computer. So your showings, or you can do it on your laptop, but this is where you can also do it on and manage your showings right here. So here's a client that I just showed on August 22nd. So I click on that, and you see how it grays out. If I wanted to change something, I could then change anything from by hitting the pencil button. Okay, come on, Jim. Fat Fingers Jim. Okay, so it goes back. There's 8 properties that I wanted to show. If I wanted to route those from where I'm at, it'll start to route that, and you can see how it routes all the properties. Now, I don't really use that function because I use a visual function. I'm going to show you how to do that. So I'm going to turn the little car off, but I'm going to look at just the properties that are on my search list. And so this is in Colorado Springs, so it's showing in Colorado Springs, and you can see all the properties that I'm in Colorado Springs. And these are the ones that I showed. So if I wanted to go to the 192, you see how I have the little A button there. I click on the A button, and it tells me that's a 230 to 330 central lock, enter. It tells me how to get in that house and that it's vacant. And we put that in there so that now I don't have to have any paper with me. I just use this completely on my own, and I go to the property, and if I want, I'm logged in, so I can then, if I need to talk to the agent, I've got the agent's information right there. So going back, I've still got you see how that little red button over here is turned on? So if I was saying, oh, wait a minute, there's nothing else around here, as soon as I go to here, to this property, okay, and I want to be close to this, I got to remember that I got to turn my user position off, but now I wanted to see, okay, I'm showing this house, and I want to turn that off because I want to show everything around that property. Now I can see if there's anything else available before we leave the area to show them that might be in their price range.
How did you change that?
Okay, let me show you again. So up at the top, you see how this, I hit the root, I hit that little yellow button here, or this will email that. I'm going to show you that next. So right now, it will then turn that list right back on, okay? Because the reason why it did, because you see how up here it has Rude and it has the address, so that I know which list that I'm looking at. So let's say that I'm looking at this one that this house, okay? I want to zero in. I don't have my user position on, and so now I turn it off by just clicking on that, and see it turns yellow. And now it's going to show me all the houses around that again. So now let's say that there's another house that would have fit their criteria. And so this house for $92,000, and I can now hit my star button right here down at the bottom. See how it turned yellow again? And guess what? Rude's now went from 8 to 9. Okay, so now that one is part of their list. So let's say that before I know that I've got the Rudes up because it says, and I want to email them all the showings before we show. So here's all the properties, all 9 of the properties, and I just send whoever I want. I mean, I can send their parents and saying, hey, this is what I'm going to show your kids, whatever you want. I've successfully sent that list to my clients now. So going back to the More button, I'm trying to be very patient. Okay, so you see here's all my list. All right, I can manage this list here, but it's a lot easier to manage it on my computer. So here's some favorites that I had 0 on July 27th. You see that favorite July 27th. Anytime that you do a search, it creates a list for you. I turn that off and it's gone. I can delete any of these by just hitting that button and delete button. Okay? And I can change that by that. My last views, you can start to see that the last views are ones that I clicked on. They've already been starred, so it shows that that's been starred. Any questions? Just to kind of give you an idea, let's just move on to Buena Vista and see what kind of this Buena information is still in it's in Novia. You see how we've switched from Ari, Colorado to Inovia, okay? So every time we switch, it's the same feature for your clients, but they're looking at a different database. And we have 7 different MLSs in our database. So if you want to go to Leadville, you can search, Leadville, zero in, and you can see how many homes in Leadville. Any questions on the iPad? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to log in here and show you some features, how you work hand in hand with your devices. So I'm going to go in here and mirror on the Event Center. Make this a little bigger. So I'm already logged in, okay? And so I want to go to my search activity. So I can go to my properties, my specific properties. I could go to my favorite list, my search list. So I'm going to just hit a favorite list for right now. And so you see how the routes there are right there, and I want to click on the routes. It'll give me all the properties that there are right here. Okay, it shows me where I showed in Colorado Springs and the properties that I actually showed them. So any of these lists I can keep as an active or new, or I can change the status of that, or I can delete that. So it says favorites, active. Anytime I create a list, it's going to create a list for me. And even the drive-by detector. How many people remember last week that we had a drive-by detector and we showed you how to use that? Okay. Drive-by detector will also show up, any list that you have for your drive-by detector. So what I want to show you, though, is how dynamic now, going from the web, so the consumers can search the web. I'm going to go to my my website. So you always want to check this URL to make sure. So I was showing somebody that I wanted to change from the Broncos to snowing. I'm not quite ready to do that yet, but you can change your color and all your information. So when you're here and you want to see your properties, you want to view all your listings, okay? This is dependent on what you have. So I have one that's in the private market because it's in Iris, okay? I have a listing in Fountain or Firestone, and so I wanted to click that property. So what I want to show you is how dynamic this information that you have is in there. So you can filter your showings on this side. I'm going to stay on this side. You see utility score. It'll tell you what the average utilities, and if you wanted to click on more information on the utility score, it'll take you to utility score, and you can kind of get some more information on that. Then you have your mortgage simulator. We just went through the function of the mortgage simulator. It's the exact same thing. So once you learn one, you don't have to go learn the others. So it gives you all the features of the house. It tells you where the location of the house is. And then it gives you all the school information so the consumers can kind of check out the schools from where their property is. Then they can find out what the walk score is. And if you wanted to look at your commute, let's see if that's enough. So it tells me right there, I'm 49 minutes from the office. It tells me how many per month that it's going to cost me to drive, how many hours per month that I'm in, and so, you know, very robust information from your walk score. Then it will find out from similar properties that are being priced. It'll tell you other homes that are there. The reason why there's two here is because one's in RE Colorado and one's in Iris, and so that we don't duplicate. We don't try and simulate. We just put them all in there, and then the contact information, and then the consumers can do through Facebook campaigns. They could comment here on the property. The other thing that you can do here is post things to Facebook. If you want people to know about this property, you just log in, and then you can post it directly to Facebook in there that way. So I'm not going to post anything right this second. So very, very good content that's going into the properties. While you see here is landing pages. We went over landing pages the other day. I'm not going to go over that, but it'll show up if you have landing pages there on your website. It'll show up there. So going back to the search activities, you have your listings right here. So it'll give you all your listings, all the sold information. And this is where how many people are doing testimonials on their site. Everybody doing, I mean, testimonials are very important, but this is where you can get your information here and send this, and so people will get all of this content when you're adding your testimonials. What happened here is you see that on private market here for this blue water, I sent all of our agents this listing when it was brand new. Okay, so I sent it to 101 agents. It shows that I sent that, and that only 41 agents even bothered to open it up. A new listing in our office and only 41 people. So that's what this little share button is for. Again, so if you wanted to share information on new listings, that's why you use your properties back here.
So if you share with everybody in the office, where does it come up? Where do they see it?
They'll get an email that will look just like this. It'll show them all of this information just like this. So they're going to get an email from you with this property, and it'll say that it's a new listing or private market, where because we can have the ability to put it in private market. I'm working with RE Colorado, so they're telling me by the end of September, middle of October, we'll be testing our private market entry so that we can have a single point of entry for our office, so that you won't have to do enter it into Home and Do and then enter it into RE Colorado. It'll be one place that we'll enter in, and that's going to help the staff, and it's going to be pretty exciting. But right now, they're behind. We're waiting for them. Okay, going back, I'm just trying to stay on search, on task. People say that I'll tell you about 6 different things when I'm trying to stay on one thing, so it's going back to our search activity. I want to go over the shared search list again. That shows you how you can send it to the office, but how do we send it to clients and interact with clients? So what you can see here is I've got one client that called me on a piece of ground last Friday, and so he's been on the system 4 times. I know that he's been on the systems. He's getting updated every 30 minutes if there are properties, new listings that are coming on the market. That doesn't mean he gets an email every 30 minutes. He only gets an email every 30 minutes when properties are coming on the market. So if we want to go to Bruce right now, you can see that there's 26 results in his category. And how that is that we're looking in the United States, in Colorado. These are the zip codes that we decided that he is looking in. And there's a lot of them. That's not just those few. It's there's a chain there. Residential, farm, active, from 100 to 500,000, 4 acres to 500 acres, okay? And so then it has his email. And let's say that he says, you know, Jim, I would like you to send that to my partner or my friend or whoever. So by hitting the share button here, you fill out their information and you decide how often they want to get. Maybe one wants it every 30 minutes, but one only wants one once a day. So that depending on the husband and wife, they may want something, you know, in different formats. They don't want to be bothered during the day, so they want to get it during, you know, one time a day. You have the ability to make that. Excuse me. As soon as you hit the share button, then it will show up as a second line and how many times they're looking at it. So you can have 6 people in the same search criteria, and you'll be able to monitor it from them. I'll show you a place where you can show it. So you have this stream. Let's say that now instead of active, days on the market, we don't want to send him old stuff. So we only want to send him 5 days on the market or sooner, because he's already started, he's looked, and so we don't want to send him any old properties. So now we're just going to send him anything that's new, 5 properties. It's gone from 28 to 7. And so now he's only seeing the new stuff, and we'll show that right there. And as you can see, it shows on the line, on the chain, 5 days or less. Okay, so you can change it back and forth, and you'll see any of that activity, what he's doing. So going back to the search bar, the save search, what I'm going to do is go to the business activity, meaning I'm going to look at clients here. So here's Bruce. This is the guy that just so it tells you, and we can add a picture. So if we found him in Facebook or something like that, we can add a picture. We can put all his address in here by just clicking on putting his cell phone. I know we have a cell phone, so we'll add that, and we'll click that, and his cell phone is there. If I want to send him an email, all I do is click that, and I can send him an email. So it starts to be a little bit of a CRM for us. And then you can put his social network in there. Then you can select an activity if you want about what kind of relationship you have with this. So you can say that he's maybe getting better or going better. Going better? Good. Going better. That's a good one. And we want to do auto reply, or we want to send him auto reply emails. We can do that now by our Leads Me program. So this is the beginning of our CRM. So then what it does is it'll show you searches that he's actually done. I'm going to go back to a client that's pretty active. So a client. And you can see how, at a glance, who's been on your site recently. Okay, so Bruce hasn't been on since August 19th, but Hank was on today, and Brooke was on today, or it was 24th? Yeah, so they've been on today, so it shows up that they've been on today. And so if I go to Brooke, who's got information, already, I can, again, all that information. If she's only a buyer or a seller or a prospect or anything, I can label him, her, so that different things can be actions for different types of contacts. And then this will give you her favorites. If she hit favorites there, it'll show you. We've looked at a couple weeks ago, so every one that we looked at a couple weeks ago is under contract. It's a dynamic search, meaning that if any of these go active or under contract or go back active, it'll always show up as a dynamic thing. So it's not static. When you send a list, like I sent the list earlier this morning, that list will be dynamic. So you don't have to worry that if something goes under contract, that now they got old data, because every time they open it up, it's going to check to see if it's active or under contract. The other thing is the selling transaction then. So by clicking on the selling transaction, I go right to her transaction. And this is what we're really heavily working on right now. And so as soon as you get things approved down here, and they say that they're approved, then they'll show up approved down here. So once your list is done, then you'll be ready to close. You'll be able to then add your commission. And this is not the form that we're using. We're building a new form that's exactly the same or similar to CTM. So you'll be able to fill out who gets what in that transaction, so that the title company knows that, and it's already approved by the office, so there's no problem. Then the closing checklist is that your closer will close the transaction. She's not going to hand you a package. She's going to put those documents here, and it's done. She's going to write you a check, and all these will say that they're not missing. They're there now. Yes. Land title is, so let me kind of show you how that works. Any participant that we add, so when you start a transaction, your name's going to show up because they know that you're a participant. Susan as added because she's my assistant, so your assistant's going to be added. Kathy Hannawalt there at Land Title, she'll be added. So she'll be able to log in and upload those documents and be done. So no paper. Does that answer your question? No, we're not doing it right yet, but what you guys need to be doing is adding your transactions down here, okay? So we're putting on all the closed files in Home and Do, but we haven't implemented where everybody's working together yet, because I've got to finish the, if you see here right now where it has 2 approved and you come down here and there's more than 2 approved, we're working on that system to make sure they jive. Because, again, I've told you guys there's 7 different layers of authorization, meaning from the front desk all the way through the title company, attorneys, anybody. So if you have a problem on a transaction, Andy will be able to log into Home and Do and look at that document without you sending it to him or us looking at the whole document. So it's going to be very user-friendly, and it's quite a task. So that's kind of gives you an idea on that. Everything is dynamic. So if I go to Brooke, it takes me right to Brooke. You see what I'm saying? So all of that stuff is linked together. We've got 2.5 million lines of code in this system to try and make sure everything is functioning properly, working together. Any questions today? Any things that you've had questions that you've seen that you need my help? And one of the things that's really important, you guys, is if you want to meet me one-on-one, I will be more than happy to catch you up on any of the things that we're working on. But it's also important that if you guys see something that you see is a bug, also let me know, because you're the testers out there to make sure that we have a flawless, at least as close a flawless system as we can possibly get. Okay, thanks for coming, you guys. Appreciate it. You've been streamed. You're on camera today.
So next week we'll be able to watch your presentation?
Today. Did you record it or just stream it?
I recorded it and streamed it.
Yeah. Yeah. So we'll record this to upload, and what we probably will do is try and take segments, the better segments of that, and condense them so that we'll say, okay, iPad version, so you can watch that over and over again.
Is there any way to ask questions while we're watching live stream?
Like a chat. That's a good option. Well, this is our first. We're crawling right now, but that's a great a live chat. We'll talk about that.